Monthly bills, credit card debt, or inflation can prompt a lot of stress, but a recent study shows people living in certain states, including right here in Nevada, are in the most financial distress. A recent study by WalletHub found people living in Texas, Louisiana, Nevada, Kentucky, and Florida are leading when it comes to financial stress. WalletHub defines an account in financial distress as one either in forbearance or has its payments deferred. Researchers compared data from September of 2023 to September of 2024 to put the ranking together. Factors included credit scores, people with accounts in distress, and bankruptcy filings. WalletHub found Nevadans have the 15th lowest average credit score in the country at 644.